Vildred explained the side effects of this technique he was going to use on Khan in order to forcefully raise his elemental affinities as the latter glanced at him with a confused expression. Each time we do this, you will feel like you're overdosing on some pleasure drug. But the biggest danger is that your body will not be able to restrain itself, even after the elemental affinity and reserves are at the highest capacity and saturation based on the current threshold. Your body will keep asking for more without thinking of the consequences. He explained. In a way, it was similar to a drug addict who would keep asking for more good stuff, despite knowing that it will definitely kill them. Wouldn't that mean I could just explode from this overdose? Asked Khan with a suspicious countenance. Vildred only nodded and continued in a cautious voice. But that's not the end. Since we would need another element to balance it, we will have to move to the next element that is either more powerful than that element we injected or it's weaker and naturally adverse to it. Means if we were to start with fire, next we will have to go with water. He simplified. Well, I can endure those too, responded Khan. Vildred, on the other hand, shook his head. Here, your identity as hero of darkness is your biggest enemy. Because for this condition to fulfill and balance out all the elements of reality in your body, I will also have to fill your body with those two elements as well. He revealed in a grim voice. As soon as Khan heard it, he revealed an aghast expression, fully understanding what the Dragon Emperor meant here. Lightning. I can control it even inside your body because I currently have the highest affinity to lightning in the entire world. Even the hero of lightning of this new generation can't be compared to me. Just like you can't be compared to my brothers who have darkness and fire elements. You will have to be at least a 9th stage saint to be their equal or superior in those elements. He iterated somberly. However, you have some resistance against lightning. You at least won't die easily against it. But the problem is the light element, declared the Sage of Preservation. During this reformation procedure, we can't skip on it no matter what. Otherwise, the other elements will go out of control. And when I forcefully inject your body with light element, you will suffer immense and immeasurably terrifying pain. Something that's enough to kill any being with the darkness element easily. He said with an indignant countenance. However, due to your regeneration abilities and your title as Hero of Darkness, you won't die, but the agonizing pain will be burning your blood, your flesh, disintegrating your bones and everything in your body. It will be like you're being annihilated and pulverized every waking second. Each moment will feel like you've died hundreds of times already. He revealed another tormenting side effect of this technique. Is there no other way? Asked Khan with a helpless tone. No. Not unless you want to spend a century to achieve this feat. If not for you having access to the Chamber of Exaltation, I wouldn't have even suggested this method because it's impossible to do in the outside world. Spoke the Lightning Dragon Emperor. This is just the law of equivalent exchange again. Nothing comes without a price. The carrot and stick method where the carrot is as small as a finger while the stick is as big as a tower. Said Khan as he analyzed the situation from his perspective. But the next moment, Vildred chimed in again and declared the aftereffects. However, once we go through this and if we succeed, out of the 12 heroes, 6 of whom are representatives of the gods who represent 6 elements of the creation of Vantria. In the following moments, Vildred's eyes gleamed and his voice became confident and tyrannical at the same time. None of them will ever be able to kill you. 10 minutes later, Khan sat in the epicenter of the convergence of reality where all elements in the world gathered. Kadeblux Mroab Modbek Optpsna Jagfanj. Vildred started chanting in ancient Draconian language which neither Khan nor Rathnar could understand. Soon, 10 glowing yellow small formations, only as big as a tea saucer, appeared at Khan's shoulders, wrists, and knees. One on his chest, another on his back and the backside of waist, and the last one above his head. Soon, they let out a suction force like a black hole. Vildred used his black and golden scepter with a blue dragon coiling at the top to create a barrier and only allowed fire elements to pass through. Know this. It will hurt like hell even with your immunity to fire, water, and darkness. Because it's not an enemy attack but rather, We're forcefully injecting it inside every vital part of your body to create these reserves. Your affinity to elements will help a bit, but once the threshold that your body as a fourth-stage saint is met, it will become painful and start to become unbearable. You must endure it and not faint. He explained the pain that was to follow. Even Khan could tell that this was the purest and most potent condensed form of the fire element, at least 5 times more powerful than the outside world. Finally, the wormholes spread over his body and started sucking it in. Now, start using harnessing and try to create a thin layer of fire elemental world energy. Slowly and steadily spread it over your entire body. He ordered Khan. What is this called? Asked Khan. It's an ancient technique created by a deity who served the god of nature. It's called the elemental transfusion. Just then, the system warned Khan. Warning! Forceful elemental transfusion has begun. The host's body is under protective mode. No, shut down all the protective measures. He ordered with a voice filled with indomitable willpower. Do not use them no matter how much it hurts. Command accepted. Responded the system. At this moment, what Khan didn't know was that compared to the physical and mental torture he faced while practicing harnessing and conceptualization, he was going to suffer a fate worse than death. Khan agreed to follow Vildred's suggestion and let go of all the defensive mechanism, or the aid from the system to yield the perfect result from elemental fusion, as he didn't want to waste this opportunity by using his body's resistance to the fire element granted by his various passive abilities, the bloodlines or the divine key flame scion. Soon, the wormhole-like formations suddenly glowed and formed thin needles of fire, each carrying the strength of an unimaginable amount of blistering and blazing flames that could burn down cities instantly. Even Khan's temple region of the head was pierced by it. Those needles then pierced Khan's body in all the places the wormholes appeared and injected all the amassed fire by Vildred. Wailed Khan in agonizing pain as if someone was drilling a metal rod in his head. Flesh and bones in all these points. Swoom! This pain was so intense that he felt his entire body shuddering and vibrating like hot magma was running through it while destroying him from within. Crack! Every bone in his body started crumbling and shattering. Sizzle! In upcoming moments, Khan's flesh started burning from the inside as the orifices also started bleeding, including his eyes. Scorching heat appeared throughout the point of piercing, and in a matter of seconds, Khan was completely coated by a thin film of pure and potent fire, as if being engulfed by flames. Groaned Khan and screamed despite trying his best to endure the pain. Soon, the damaged nervous system lost connection with his mind and the pain receptors turned useless. But as an aftereffect, Khan started having seizures in succession as his body was no longer in his control. At this moment, Khan was burning as if he was bathed in magma inside an active volcano. However, this immense and terrifying pain Khan was enduring was just the beginning. Minutes passed, but in the meantime, Khan was dying, scorched and burned to cinders alive every waking second. Unlike how God of Darkness killed him thousands of times when he met them before being thrown into Vantria, this wasn't only momentary death which also reincarnated him in picoseconds. Because here, he could feel every bit of pain and agony in his body and consciousness amplified by 1,000 times. His fate was worse than death. Hours passed and Khan kept enduring the horrifying pain as his instant regeneration skill and his various bloodlines activated on their own and kept bringing him back to life. But each time, he kept feeling like his body was churned and turned into ashes as his charred skin kept dropping on the ground, forming large heaps of ash around it. This pain was many times more terrifying and mortifying than anything he had experienced before. And for the first time, even after mastering harnessing and conceptualization, Khan felt like he no longer had the will to live. At this point, whether it was his body or his mind, both of them had broken. The light in his eyes was of a dead man. Another hour passed as Khan kept living through torment and was no different than burnt coal as his hair and skin had completely charred beyond the point of recognition. Right then, the system sent a notification. Elemental transfusion for fire element complete. Congratulations to the host. The host has achieved 100% natural affinity with the fire elemental. The host can now achieve instant transformation of world energy into fire element at will. The system notified, but Khan on the other side had completely lost his mind. Soon, his regeneration skills started recovering his body, and in minutes, the outer layer of charred skin cracked, revealing the perfectly healed and rejuvenated skin and all fleshly organs. Boom! A massive aura erupted as the ash and dust from the burnt skin were shoved away with a gust. A scorching red aura suddenly revealed itself, full of violent and terrifying might. This was the aura full of the fire element of Vantria in its peak form. Just like the one present at convergence of reality, Khan now emitted the same fire that previously entered his body via the formation created by Vildred. The Dragon Emperor also revealed an expression of victory and contentment. If I was at my peak, this process wouldn't have taken so long, and he wouldn't have experienced death for so many hours. Thought the sage, clenching his fist in self-hatred as he blamed his current weakness. He had seen what Khan went through and could understand how it felt being turned into cinders and then recovering just the next second to live through that horrifying pain again and again for so long. During the elemental transfusion procedure that took more than 5 hours, and by his estimation, Khan had died and returned from the dead more than 18,000 times. Something that was not even the top powerhouse such as 8th-stage saints in the world could easily go through. "Khan, wake up!" he exclaimed. But Khan didn't move, as if he was in some sort of trance. His eyes were open, but his mind was blank. The air permeated through his skin, but he couldn't feel anything. His body completely regenerated, revealing even more monstrous strength and fiery aura. But his countenance revealed lifelessness. To outsiders, Khan would look completely fine under this domineering aura, akin to a king. But inside, he was completely a dried husk of his former self. A few more hours passed, but Khan still didn't move or respond. Rathnar also used his core and provided Khan's body with an abundance of world energy to pull him out of this state. Yet there seemed to be no life, as if his soul had left his body. However, at this very moment, Khan appeared in an astral soul form inside a space unknown. His ethereal body floated in the air. In this space, everything was made of fire. Black, white, blue, green, red, and yellow-colored flames encompassed basically everything in this dimension with no sky or ground. However, a 1-kilometer-tall entity stood atop a throne made of liquefied fire and gazed at Khan with glowing eyes full of discerning countenance. Khan also gazed at this entity with whom he felt an indescribable connection. "Who are you?" asked Khan with a vigilant expression. "Ah, didn't think I would see you like this one day, especially not after you killed my previous contractor." Spoke this massive being made of multicolored flames that didn't have a fixed position or direction. "Who are you? Do you know me? Have we met before?" queried Khan again, revealing no fear in his demeanor either. "Of course I do, hero of darkness. Didn't they tell you that we have a sentience of our own?" Spoke this ginormous being with a tyrannical, terrifying, and ghastly voice. "My name is," revealed the being in a majestic voice as if it was an overlord of all the fire in the world. "Amaterasu," the being akin to a deity that lorded this plane of existence, where Khan was suddenly thrown into, revealed its true identity to be none other than the divine weapon, Amaterasu. Khan's eyes were left wide open as he was speechless and too stunned to comprehend this predicament, as not even in his wildest dreams did he imagine this scenario. "Where am I? And why did you suddenly appear?" he questioned with a cautious gaze. The first thing Khan needed to know was if he was in danger. This realm is inside the divine key, Flame Scion, the part which has merged with your own, revealed Amaterasu, whose entire body was made of multicolored flames and sat on a massive throne that was at least 600 meters in height alone. The tiny ant-sized Khan then questioned the divine weapon with a look filled with hostility. "Why am I here in my soul form? Why did you summon me suddenly?" To his words, the fiery being with a humanoid structure and a face with glowing red eyes replied, "I didn't. You appeared here by yourself." and the only way for a chosen hero to appear in this realm is meeting the prerequisite condition to form the contract. Responded the divine weapon carefree. Conditions? For what? Asked Khan with a puzzled countenance. Looks like you have met the 100% affinity condition for the fire element. He revealed with a discerning gaze as he scanned through Khan's spectral form. This was why I hadn't acknowledged you as my contractor. He iterated solemnly. Contractor? You mean your owner? Asked Khan. However, Amaterasu shook its head and replied, there is no fixed owner for a divine weapon like me. We only have temporary contractors. All of them are the heroes and heroines of the element we were created with. For me, it has always been a hero/heroine of fire. Khan finally understood what was going on here. Neither did he come here willingly nor did Amaterasu summon him. Without knowing, he must have met a condition he was unaware of. What are the conditions you speak of? He asked in a stern voice. One of the conditions to form a control between a divine weapon, which is created solely for the chosen hero, is 100% natural affinity with that element. Otherwise, the heroes cannot wield us at our full power, because our powers will end up killing them instead. Explained Amaterasu. The divine key of that element has three main uses. One is to grant the hero or heroine a body that has full immunity and natural affinity with the element. The second use is that the divine weapon can only be bound to the divine key, as already using us consumes a lot of soul essence. If we were directly tied to the soul itself, the user would die in the matter of months. Hence, a divine weapon can only be used by a chosen hero. He revealed truthfully. And the third use, like the word says, it's a key. The divine weapon's voice echoed. A key to what? A lock, some formation, or a door? Asked Khan curiously. Soon, Amaterasu spoke and revealed the truth. However, for some reason, Khan couldn't hear it, and Amaterasu's mouth didn't produce any sound when he tried to speak the truth again. Looks like gods made sure that it can't be shared with other heroes. Spoke Amaterasu after assessing the situation. He then glanced at Khan. You're at least different than your predecessor. Amaterasu suddenly mentioned the eighth hero of darkness out of nowhere, raising Khan's curiosity. You're not like him. Unlike him, you actually have 100% affinity to fire. He spoke. You knew him? Asked Khan with a baffled expression. Of course. That bastard killed my seventh contractor and forcefully commanded me along with other divine weapons which were not meant to be used by him. He primarily had the divine keys. That was his main objective. We divine weapons were just something that came along with them, since we're actually bound to the divine key and not the hero/heroine in the first place. He explained a part of the truth of the past. So what did he want? Why did he kill all the heroes? Asked Khan hurriedly. This was one of the answers he had been looking for since long ago. No idea. I was under forced comatose just like others until he died. After his death, all of us returned to the empires that store and protect us through true dimension, to keep us protected for the next summoned hero. He revealed honestly. Do you know about my divine weapon? Asked Khan. Him? Do you not have him? Questioned Amaterasu, a visible surprise revealing on his face. Khan shook his head in response. No wonder I didn't get that ominous and eerie feeling from you. That guy, even with the short time I shared with him, I couldn't see through him or even understand. It was like endless darkness that consumed everything in the world. He spoke and was lost in his own thoughts. Khan, on the other end, was processing this whole advancement and decided to make a few choices of his own. The current hero of fire is dead, he said to the divine weapon. I know. That was a very shameful defeat. Even worse than Fringilla, the seventh heroine of fire, when we fought against the eighth hero and your divine weapon. If only that useless runt had focused more on training and becoming stronger instead of playing savior in front of others just to feel good about herself, I wouldn't have lost against your divine weapon so miserably. This is why I hate attention seekers. I had 3 of such contractors already, and none of them could help me reveal my full power during combat. He spoke with discontentment. Now, at least for this generation, you have no owner. So what do you say? Will you acknowledge me as your contractor? Asked Khan without any hesitation. To his out-of-the-norm and obtuse proposition, the divine weapon replied calmly. Well, you have the divine key and 100% fire immunity as well as natural affinity now. You met all 3 conditions to become my contractor, same as Axel. He declared, but the next moment, he asked in a grim voice, showing a domineering countenance. But why should I? This time, Khan's proposal was denied by the divine weapon despite the former meeting the required conditions to become its contractor, as the latter asked him for a valid reason about why he should accept this proposition. Because without me you're just floating inside the true dimension with no end, said Khan firmly. TCH. So what? I will only become a secondary weapon and a discarded toy once you find your own divine weapon. Besides, there's no point, said the divine weapon with a discouraged countenance. Why? Asked Khan. Because no matter what, none of you can defeat him, declared Amaterasu. Who are you talking about? Khan queried. There's only one being I hate more than your divine weapon. The one everyone calls the demon god. Khan was suddenly taken aback after hearing these words. It meant that Amaterasu had at least encountered the demon god. Tell me what you know about him or it, said Khan with a stoic expression. 4 of my contractors have fought him till now in the past 3,000 years since I was created. He killed 2 of them, 1 fled from the fight and the last one was gravely injured 900 years ago, which ultimately led to his death, said Amaterasu as he revealed a bit of the past. By my guess, he should already be way too powerful than all those centuries ago. Whether it was Axel or even you're both just too weak to even stand in front of him without dying, said the divine weapon, heaving a helpless sigh. Is that so? Tell me something. How does he look or what powers does he have? Why haven't all the heroes with divine abilities and divine weapons managed to kill him in the past 3,000 years? And why can't all the powerhouses of the world come together and kill him along with the heroes? Asked Khan, throwing a lot of questions at once. So naive. Let me tell you what I know from my personal experience fighting him. Other than an extremely strong hero and a divine weapon at full capacity, no one can fatally harm him. Someone will have to be at least a peak saint already to overcome his law of reality. He explained. What law? Asked Khan. Obviously, he knew about how Demon God was born, but he had no knowledge of his powers. Amaterasu spoke and revealed. But just like before, this formation too couldn't be heard or spoken by both parties. Damn it! Just know this, the demon god cannot be killed easily. He has no fixed body, appearance, or identity. Also, he isn't bound by laws of reality or elements of nature, and a confirmed way to be killed. No matter what divine abilities any hero has, he is a being that simply cannot die. He spoke in a ghastly voice as his flaming body shone brightly, reflecting his anger and hatred against the demon god. Out of all the times I faced him, he was a completely different being. Sometimes a monster, sometimes a saint, once he was just a pure form of unknown energy, and once he had multiple bodies that were differing in race, species, regions of Vantria they existed in. As for the reason why we can't kill him, no one knows. Some have succeeded in killing him and even destroyed his body and soul completely, but he always came back alive after some time. And his next appearance was hard to trace. Revealed Amaterasu. Son of a bitch. This means forget fighting and killing him. You can't even find him or think of a way to kill him unless you had prior information. And based on what you said, the method of killing him is probably always changing each time as well, hypothesized Khan. Otherwise, at least one hero would have succeeded till now. Well, that's just my opinion based on personal experience. There could be many other reasons why no one, including your predecessor, succeeded despite being one of the 3 strongest heroes ever summoned in this world. Back then, your predecessor was a 9th stage saint, the strongest one among all the summoned heroes. With all the divine weapons and divine keys in his hand, he was possibly the strongest hero in history. He stated without shame or indignation. Also, I do know that he used me and all the others during a fight. If I wasn't forced to sleep, I would have known what happened during their battle and the aftermath. Maybe your own divine weapon will tell you since he was most likely awake. Spoke Amaterasu. Then grant me your strength. Do you not want to settle the score with him if I ever come to face him? Asked Khan, trying to instigate the eternal flame named Amaterasu. Now, that is a great motivation. However, how do I know you will actually strive to become worthy to yield me at full potential? He questioned the hero. To be honest, my situation isn't any better, said Khan in response. Soon, he revealed everything about his situation in Vantria and how he was being hunted. Oh, so you have no choice but to become stronger than everyone else if you want to survive. Well, that at least guarantees a few things, said Amaterasu and started giving a few thoughts and analysis of his own. Finally, after hours of discussion and pestering, Khan managed to appeal to the divine weapon's decision. Fine. Build up your soul essence first. I will share my knowledge and techniques to reinforce your soul, so I can use my strength and you also don't waste excessive soul essence. But know this, these methods are different for every divine weapon based on their elemental affinity. Revealed the eternal flame. Wouldn't Hetrax be angry? Queried Khan curiously. I'm aware that I was made from a small portion of Hetrax's divine essence condensed in his heart. But I don't know him. Although I was created from him, I am my own being. I have no loyalty or allegiance to anyone. He declared fearlessly. We divine weapons solely exist to fight and kill. Just that all of us need the divine key and a contractor to gain soul essence and use our powers. The stronger the contractors, the more powerful a divine weapon. So I will lend you my aid only if you promise to keep practicing and become stronger, unlike my previous two contractors who simply didn't take these matters seriously and died so pathetically. And together, we will kill that demon god bastard, said Amaterasu as he set up his own terms. Khan only nodded in response. Even he could tell that one day, he would be facing the demon god even if he didn't want to. All right then, I accept. Inside the chamber of exaltation, Khan's soul finally regained control over his body, sitting at the epicenter of convergence of reality, and he opened his eyes. And in the very next moment, the system sent notifications in his mind. Congratulations to the host. The host has made a contract with Divine Weapon Amaterasu. The Divine Weapon has acknowledged the host as its contractor. The host gained 100% control on Divine Weapon Amaterasu. It reported. Khan also had a satisfied smile. Dying for more than 18,000 times just to gain 100% natural affinity to fire element gave an unexpected result that no one saw coming. Because now, even though it happened out of pure coincidence, Khan finally had true ownership of Amaterasu, a full-fledged divine weapon. After all these years spent hiding and building his strength silently, Khan was no longer defenseless. Khan finally absorbed his current advancement and finally had full control over Amaterasu, the divine weapon that originally belonged to all the heroes/heroines of fire, which was passed down from generation to generation of summoned heroes since the past 3,000 years. System, based on my current rank and soul essence, how much and for how long can I use Amaterasu? Asked Khan to the system. Based on the host's current rank as a 4th stage saint, the host can only use 40% of his total soul essence in order to utilize the divine weapon. Currently, the host can make only 8 attacks using the divine weapon Amaterasu. More than that would adversely affect the host's soul and physique, causing an immense backlash that would incapacitate the host and render him unable to fight or even more for close to 3 months. Reported the system. Damn! No wonder no hero likes to use their divine weapon unless absolutely necessary. He sighed. However, based on current physical stats and purity of the soul itself, the host can fight even a being 3 ranks higher than him. Notified the system. What? You mean I can at least face a 7th stage saint if I'm using Amaterasu? Asked Khan, completely bewildered. Yes. The host can at least fight a beginner 7th stage saint on his own if he uses the divine weapon Amaterasu. Responded the system. Amazing! This is definitely going to be one of my biggest trump cards and could save my life when I'm out of options such as having no means to flee and being forced to fight. spoke Khan with an elated expression. The advantage of finally having a divine weapon of his own was already showing its effect. Now, I need to check the divine technique imparted to me by Amaterasu, said Khan and started meditating again. Reminiscence of eternal flame. This was a divine technique that Amaterasu gave Khan and imprinted in his consciousness after they made their promise, and the former finally approved of the latter as his contractor. If one was to explain this divine technique, it would be like this. While practicing it, Khan had to break 1% of his soul and infuse it with Amaterasu's fire, which was now accessible to him at will as he finally became its owner. However, based on his understanding of the technique, it was extremely taxing on the soul, body, and mind at the same time. And then, he'd have to absorb that portion of the transformed soul back into himself, which was even harder since their base properties and form were now different. It was like trying to mix a drop of oil inside a glass of water, both unable to form a homogeneous solution due to their physical properties. However, the divine technique had a way to assimilate these two slowly but surely. And as a result, it will help Khan's soul to become more familiar and correspond to the eternal flame that ranked even higher than the dragonfire in this world. If he carried on practicing, Khan's control over his soul would become powerful over time, and then his soul essence would undergo a qualitative change, resulting in his soul essence reserves becoming potent as well as bringing qualitative changes. And finally, after all these changes are brought, Khan could use Amaterasu without burning excess soul essence, like how Axel wasted most of it during their fight. Unlike him, Khan didn't have death absolution. Hence, he didn't have extra lives to waste his soul essence on either. And because he was currently only a 4th stage saint, he could access only 40% of his soul essence as stated by the system. This procedure was going to take a lot of time, because even the previous heroes/heroines of fire took years to fully cultivate this technique. Because here, Khan's blessings weren't going to help him, and neither would something like doppelgangers were going to be useful. This wasn't a combat technique, and neither did his doppelgangers possess a soul for any boost in training or some hack to work in terms of mastering it. Now, there was one big side effect. Every time Khan practiced and sacrificed 1% of his soul essence, all his physical stats would decrease by 1% as well. And during that period, Khan couldn't level up either as his soul was constantly under tempering. System, why can't I level up during practice? Queried Khan out of curiosity. Because the soul, mind, and body are interconnected. If one of them is being affected or undergoing some sort of transformation or tempering, the other two aspects would also be affected. The host may have not realized it, but during elemental transfusion for fire element, the host's mind and body were in great pain and now emerged stronger as the body became powerful due to elemental transfusion. As a result, the host's soul has also transformed and it is 10% purer than before. Iterated the system. Wait, does that mean once I reach elemental affinities for all 8 elements, my soul will become 80% purer than before? He asked with a befuddled countenance. Yes. Doesn't that mean my using divine techniques will make my soul even denser over time after I'm done with elemental transfusion for all elements? He questioned again. Yes. Reported the system in its usual robotic and lifeless tone. To put it simply, my soul could have close to 180% purity, almost 2 times more than the other heroes. He asked again. Yes. Holy cow. Means if I keep working on it, I will not only reduce the amount of soul essence required to use the divine weapon, but also my soul essence will be 2 times more than other chosen heroes, exclaimed Khan in astonishment after recounting everything. That's too OP and broken, Khan said as he grabbed his head in disbelief. Damn it. If Armin was here, he could have used the soul reformation skill to heal my soul again and again, making it denser and purer while I practiced the remembrance of eternal fire technique. Then my soul essence would have been more than 2 times, maybe even 3 times. Spoke Khan as he revealed a greedy and insatiable grin. Such a missed opportunity. He thought and heaved a sigh of helplessness. Whoosh! Both Rathnar and Vildred quickly arrived after noticing that Khan was out of his trance. Soon they too learned about what happened, and both of them shouted at the same time, "This shameless, greedy son of bitch! Both the Lightning Dragon Emperor and the Peak Saint flared up in rage and openly shouted at Khan without hiding their discontent and incredulous expressions. "Why is he getting such a huge power-up?" spoke Rathnar with discontent. "Eh? What do you mean? I'm the one who is still losing a lot." Khan shamelessly claimed that he was suffering a great loss. But in the upcoming moments, he told them that if Armin was here, the results would be even greater. His tone was akin to a braggart complaining about how great loss was. Rathnar on the other end fumed with anger and almost lunged at Khan. "This shameless bastard. He's getting something even I did not have as a Peak Saint and he's still complaining," shouted the first emperor as if he would beat the shit out of this gluttonous individual. Vildred stopped him and pulled him back. "Seriously, I have never seen someone who's so lucky but greedy and shameless at the same time," spoke the royal dragon in a grumpy tone. "You have me, the Sage of Preservation, the once #1 mage in the world teaching you magic. There's an Apostle of Slaughter teaching you combat techniques and weapons, the kind that comes only once in 1,000 years. And finally, a Peak Saint sharing his wisdom and knowledge that other saints would sell their souls for. Then the Tablet of Arcana, which the Empires and even 8th Stage saints would go to war for. On top of it, you're the Apostle of the War Deity and Apostle of Blacksmithing at the same time. This is something even royal dragons like me would feel envious of," said Vildred, almost feeling like a street beggar compared to Khan. Rathnar then spoke with a visible frown in between his eyes. "If I had that kind of luck, I would have become a demigod long ago." He also complained. "Shut the hell up. I'm the unluckiest person here. You both have lived as powerful beings and rules over billions for centuries. I, on the other hand, have been without anyone looking after him since day one here. Say that I have more only after I've reached the peak of strength and magic like both of you did," said Khan as he rolled over his eyes. "Well, looks like my days of hiding and being on my own are finally over. It felt like the world was making up for all the misfortunes I suffered ever since I was summoned," he said with visible arrogance. "Every dog has its day. Mine has finally come." After an hour of quarreling and fighting like little toddlers who complained about not having enough candies to eat, the three anomalies of the world of Vantria finally stopped bickering. "All right then, let's see how things are carrying on," spoke Khan. He then started recounting what he has been covering and the gains he made in the meantime so far. First, he had Romulus teach him how to increase his strength with the techniques such as harnessing and conceptualization as a warrior. And there were 3 more techniques to learn. Soon, Khan was going to receive proper and top-tier weapons training, where once he mastered them, he could leave increasing proficiency to his doppelgangers. Second, Vildred had already proven his worth as the Sage of Preservation who once ranked as the #1 magician in the world. The Dragon Emperor didn't even start teaching him properly, but the very first elemental transfusion he performed on Khan already helped the latter gain the divine weapon Amaterasu's recognition and become its contractor. And once the elemental transfusion for all the elements was done, Vildred would also start teaching him top-level spells, barriers and formations since his entire body was going to transform, and with the help of the Chamber of Exaltation, he would progress at terrifying speed as stated by the sage himself. So as per their previous discussion, things were in order. Along with the reminiscence of Eternal Flame Art given by Amaterasu, Khan was going to be even busier since increasing his soul essence was also part of the priority for his future growth. Now, all it needed was time and consistency till the seeds grew up to be a tree and bore fruits. "Kid, it's time. Since your body is changing, it's also the best period for you to learn and condition yourself for it," said Rathnar as he stood beside Khan at the epicenter of convergence of reality. "Time for what?" asked Khan curiously. The Peak Saint heaved a sigh, and in the following moments, suddenly, the space around them fractured like shattered glass, and a door akin to a void crack emerged. "Follow me," he said, and the other 2 followed the Emperor. After they passed through the void door, all 3 appeared in a different section of Chamber of Exaltation that was previously hidden from their senses. A widespread great hall with gigantic pillars, and in its center was a 10-meter-wide cloud-like wormhole, emanating a golden glow filled with unknown energy. Is this what I think it is? Asked Vildred as he glanced at Rathnar with disbelief. Yes, this is where I trained and perfected it. He replied without explaining anything to Khan. This isn't the same as the floor outside. The first one is for condensing world energy and raising your levels. Those convergence of reality and other sections that are associated with different laws of reality are also great. But they're good only if you practice in particular law. However, none of them can help you like this section as it caters to what you need most, said the Peak Saint solemnly. Perfect it, break it, and master it. And then you start studying and infusing your law with it, said Rathnar in a cryptic tone. Exactly what are we talking about here? Asked Khan with a puzzled countenance. This region is something every fourth stage saint in the world would give up everything to train in. It is important to decide your future as someone beyond fifth stage saint. He spoke and continued in a grim voice. Romulus already showed you how weak and frail the one you possess is, and how much you have downplayed its potential since you never even tried to perfect it. Spoke Vildred, agreeing with Rathnar's judgment after analyzing this great hall. It's called the Hall of Sentience. Finally, Rathnar revealed the purpose of this hall to Khan, who had no idea. This one is for your domain. Khan and Vildred stood with solemn expressions as Rathnar introduced them to this new majestic hall with grandiose and articulately built hall that had intrinsic designs and architecture, named the Hall of Sentience. Why is it called the Hall of Sentience? Asked Khan. Because this thing, it's alive. It has sentience of its own, responded the Peak Saint in a stern tone. It feeds on impurities and the imperfections of elements and regenerates them in the purest form. To put it simply, it is like a sun in the sky, full of energy and unimaginable power. But on the other side, it was also like a black hole that would suck in the domains, laws, and elements like a voracious beast. He shared his insight with the other two. The energy in the center is not an element found in the outside world anymore. It's called the element of origin. He revealed while pointing his finger at the golden glowing central part of the cloud-like orb that was emanating an unknown form of energy that Khan had never seen or heard of before. Whatever law you practice or element you possess, it can absorb and fine-tune it for you since all the elements are derived from it in the first place. Unlike the convergence of reality, they don't meet or coexist here. Rather, they originated here. In a way, it's one of the world's best element-purifying mechanisms in the entire world, said the first Emperor of Rakos. Boy, you need to use your domain here. This place has a mechanism that will destroy it and rebuild it from scratch. And they will also absorb your law essence. In your case, it's the Space Force since you used the dimensional law which also created your dimensional domain. He iterated in a confident tone. In the outside world, if your domain is destroyed, your entire body and world energy reserves will receive a great backlash. Sometimes, even saints are bedridden for months because of it. But here, that restriction doesn't exist since the element of origin will quickly absorb it, feeding on it. And then, it automatically expels out a purer form. He explained. Khan on the other end was stupefied. What kind of genius built this? He couldn't help but wonder. In simple ways, this seemingly harmless and normal-looking thing, which didn't look majestic or terrifying or some immensely otherworldly region such as the convergence of reality, was actually the most amazing and powerful section of Chamber of Exaltation. This Hall of Sentience will save you decades of study and efforts a normal fourth-stage saint has to go through to become a fifth-stage saint by creating a domain of their own first. He spoke in an almost proudly manner. Know this, there aren't even 100 fifth-stage saints in the world. Many don't even reach that rank even with having a core to absorb world energy from. Because having a domain of your own which is made with the law of reality you practice, have an affinity with, and have achieved enlightenment goes against the laws of nature. Iterated the Peak Saint again. When a domain is created, we are forcefully establishing our dominance and creating space that bends, mends, and defies the elements of reality itself. It's like creating a small world that benefits us, the user, with the laws beneficial to us during a fight. Thus, creating a domain is like posing a threat to the laws and elements of nature. Hence, it is seen as a hostile entity by the world. Suddenly, Vildred explained his own analysis. "Wow, I never knew that," replied Khan, still baffled. "Well, because you had the shortcut called the divine abilities. Your current dimensional domain is more of a poor-quality base version of what it can actually achieve if you perfect it. Now I will teach you how to use it," proclaimed the Peak Saint. "But it will be no different than what you have endured so far. First, try to learn and master as much as you can to your maximum capacity. After that, I will show you the other place," he stated in a grim tone for some reason. Khan activated the dimensional domain, encapsulating this entire hall that was akin to an emperor's throne hall. But the next moment, the entire dimensional domain, which had the ability to reduce any enemy's physical and magical stats by 50%, quickly shattered and crumbled into small granules. "Exert out some of your space force," commanded Rathnar. Khan followed the orders and a burst of space force was expelled from his body. Yet in just a few seconds it was quickly absorbed by the wormhole-like and cloudy thing in the air at the center of the hall. Khan on the other side felt that he had no connections left with his dimensional domain. Soon he tried but couldn't activate it again either. "Wait, did this thing steal my domain?" he asked, his mind discombobulated. Vildred then started inspecting this whole procedure. "Oh, this is simply brilliant. This is both the devourer and source of the world energy, mana, laws, and all the elements of reality at the same time. We're lucky this thing exists only inside this chamber of exaltation." He spoke as if they evaded a great danger. If it was in the outside world, the entire world of Vantria would have been destroyed in just a couple of months. With access to both mass and everything that exists in the world, it would have engulfed it, then purified it and then expelled it again. This time, the saturation of world energy, mana, laws, and elements would be many times denser. He explained. He then looked at Khan and asked Khan, "And what happens when energy is oversaturated?" "It explodes," replied Khan as he folded his arms. "Correct. But things don't end here. It would have engulfed whatever remained of the world after that explosion, purified it and ejected outside again. Then there would be another explosion, many times more powerful. And this process would have repeated itself indefinitely and infinitely." The royal dragon replied with a terrifying truth. "Doesn't that mean it is even more dangerous than a black hole or a nuclear explosion? Even the sun would be eaten by this thing and turned into a bomb." He spoke, his heart full of trepidation. "Seriously, how is this thing even operating? This breaks all the notions of law of conservation of energy or law of equivalent exchange," he said again with a perplexed countenance. Because out of all things he had seen so far, Khan could not grasp the logic behind this hall of sentience at all. Vildred, on the other end, has his own queries. "I'm more curious about which deity made this. What kind of civilization was so advanced that even the current world we live in cannot match their genius and technological advancements?" To his question, Rathnar replied, "Although I'm not sure, I feel like this has to be the work of the first walkers," he stated. "Who are they?" asked Khan. "Descendants of primordial titans. Let me tell you something. Primordial titans weren't just overwhelmingly gigantic monsters or creatures without intelligence. They were creators, world changers, and no matter what law, element, or whichever region of the world they resided in, they impacted thousands of kilometers of the region around them greatly. Many of the species in the world are rumored to be their test subjects spread around the world by primordial titans according to ancient records. Only dragons and god beasts have been existing since the ending period of the same immemorial era as them." He shared a hidden truth about the world. "We're just looking at a creation made by one of their paragons." He spoke, unable to hide his curiosity and vehement respect. Finally, the glowing yellow orb-like source released energy and it automatically entered Khan's body. "Congratulations to the host." The very next second, the system sent a notification to Khan's mind. Space law infused with the dimensional domain. Khan stood bamboozled with a petrified expression after he was taken aback by this sudden notification. The main factor behind his surprise being the fact that he never knew about a law being able to merge with a domain. "How is that possible?" asked Khan and shared the information with Vildred and Rathnar. You idiotic and ignorant fool. Your dimensional law only granted you a pre-made domain. It was like giving you the ability to speedrun before you even learned how to walk. However, it only had the function of lowering the enemy's stats at best. Spoke the royal dragon with an annoyed expression. Didn't you see Romulus' domain of slaughter? That did so many things than just lowering your strength. And we saw only its first form. So obviously your domain is no different either. He iterated. If you were a 5th stage saint, then I would be at that rank as well. Then I would have shown you my domain. Just know that a proper and powerful domain has multiple uses than just limiting an opponent's strength or fighting abilities. Although you received a shortcut, it's barely an entry-level domain. And the only method to strengthen your domain is merging and assimilating your law in it. The Sage of Preservation declared. Khan finally understood the difference. This was knowledge he never heard of and wasn't available in any books. Obviously, the powerful people, especially those who were 5th stage saints and above, wouldn't naturally declare it for the world. If not for Vildred and Rathnar, Khan probably wouldn't have even found that his own dimensional domain had much more to offer. System then notified Khan about what effects did he receive. The host can now willingly teleport to any point within the span of his dimensional domain, without needing any other movement skill or evading ability. The host can also oppress and slow an enemy's attack or skill targeting him by a few seconds. The host can also decrease the enemy's psychological thought process by 10% during battle. Note, all these ability effects will rise with the increase in space law assimilation with the dimensional domain. Current infusion rate, 5%, informed the system. Damn, this is so useful. In a battle between saints, even a single second is enough to decide life and death. If I can slow down someone's thought process, then I can possibly reduce their perception and reaction time during a fight. This is completely different than just reducing someone's physical stats. Spoke Khan, because this effect was something he had to use many different abilities separately to achieve. But now that space law merged with his domain, these became passive abilities. And it was only 5% of effectiveness. With the increase in his mastery and proficiency, the effects would also rise gradually. System then mentioned that Khan could go as far as 40% merging of space law with dimensional domain at best based on his current rank. After he crosses 50%, only then he would be eligible to develop a second form of dimensional domain. How do I improve it? He asked the 2 ancient freaks in front of him. Whether it's magic, law, or a domain, your progression is dependent on a single decisive key factor. Spoke Rathnar and revealed in a majestic tone. Enlightenment. Correct. You need a 3rd enlightenment in space law to cross that threshold. It was the same for us with our domains as well. Responded Vildred. We can't help you with that. It's something only you can achieve on your own. Complete the 40% merging first in the upcoming months. Then I'll show you a useful place. Spoke the Peak Saint, hinting that he also had a few plans of his own for strengthening Khan's domain as he previously promised. 1 month later, Romulus inspected Khan's body with a flabbergasted countenance. What the hell happened to you? He exclaimed in disbelief, because Atrus aka Khan now felt like a completely different being. Every part of his body, whether it was blood, bones, veins, and even the skin, was in an optimal condition which was nigh impossible to achieve for even someone like him. What he didn't know was that, in the past 1 month, Khan underwent a literal massacre. Him being the one who was massacred. All of this was the result of completing the elemental transfusion procedure for all elements. This experience was no different than what he suffered through for the fire element. For water, his body burst out and froze, crumbling to bits and then erupted like a jet stream because of the uncontrollable water pressure. For the wind element, the kind Khan only used in the early stages of his life in Vantria, he once entirely turned into fog and even almost became a raging storm with his body parts, intestines, and flesh flying in it. For earth elemental, he turned into a boulder and even his blood turned into slurry. Khan couldn't even move in that state and felt like he was mummified. Chaos element was a nightmare because Khan's mind turned frantic and full of bloodlust as he went berserk. All he could think about was killing and going on a rampage. His flesh was overgrown and his blood became as hot as lava. Thankfully, Vildred was here to stop him and keep him sane. Otherwise, he would have gone on a murder spree. For what element? His body exuded life force, and almost vines grew from his arms and roots from his legs, while the hair and skin turned leafy and dried respectively. Then there was the metal element, the extremely rare kind. Khan was no different than a metal or, with no life, no movement and no consciousness. Khan felt like he was dying from suffocating for hours. As for lightning, he was turned into a charred wood and electrocuted every waking second, fuming with smoke as result. Khan literally underwent the heavenly tribulation that those traditional cultivation novel protagonists faced every time they made a breakthrough. But unlike how those stories portrayed invincible might and domineering stature of the MC, who didn't bow to the heavens despite getting obliterated while defying normal sense and logic at the same time, Khan's bones and muscles cracked like dried wood on fire. He was akin to a slab of charcoal that was getting hit by the most terrifying lightning bolts possible at the same place again and again for hours. Dying was like breathing to Khan at this point, but it didn't mean that it hurt less or the pain subsided any less. And finally, there were the two elements that completely changed his body. Namely, Daken và Lai. At the end of his elemental transfusion procedure, Khan was left with only two elements which were very important to balance all the other elemental affinities and finally grant him a body perfectly made for practicing the law of magic in every aspect. Vildred carried on this procedure with extreme precision as darkness and light element were too volatile and uncontrollable even to him. Finally, both he and Khan started another session of painful and gruesome torture that would kill the latter again and again as part of their daily routine. An hour passed as Vildred started saturating all the pure and dense darkness element present at convergence of reality and infused it within Khan's body. However, the darkness element was surprisingly way too overwhelming for Khan as he felt like his body was constantly under the bottom of the ocean because the pressure was so tremendous that his body almost got flattened, hollowed and shattered many times from the inside. This effect was different than lightning, which was too rampant and uncontrollable. Alas, in terms of strength and destructive power, darkness was evenly matched. Hours passed as Khan died hundreds of times, his entire body getting sucked in some sort of black hole and compressed to the point his skin was sticking to his bones. This was a feeling many times more powerful than any saint pressure he felt in his new life, the aura emitted by Romulus being no exception to this. But after 14 hours of consistent torment and dying more than 25,000 times during the process, the 50% affinity to darkness element in Khan's body finally became 100%. In the outcome, his entire physiological strength arose tremendously as his resilience to all other elements including lightning rose to a whole new level. 3 days later, finally, it was time for the bane of his existence, aka the light element. Here, Khan was turned into smithereens most of the time and annihilated from every inch of his body. He turned into ash and small sand granules many times as if he was disintegrated from the inside. Khan had barely any resistance against this element and thus, his affinity to build up with the light element was the hardest compared to both lightning and darkness. It took them 2 days and Khan died more than 100,000 times during this procedure. If not for Rathnar using his core to provide Khan with world energy consistently and allowing his instant regeneration and phase shift skill to work all the time, he would have died in the early stages of this session for the last element. Although he finally achieved 100% affinity, it didn't mean he became impervious to this element. Affinity and resistance were two completely different things. It was like fish having an affinity with water. But if someone used a high-pressured water jet spray against them, the fish would still die. Any powerful being with light element could still easily kill Khan. But the aftereffects were all worth it. Thanks to all the elemental affinities rising to 100% in his body, Khan now achieved a physique many times stronger than before. Every element reforged and caused transmutations in Khan's body in their own way. As an aftermath, many of his skills and abilities now rose to a completely higher rank. S-rank elemental skills, abilities and magic spells now rose as far as up to SSS rank. Some SSS rank skills related to his physiology and elemental affinity straight up rose to Saint rank. And the already existing ones also got an 80 to 100% efficiency boost in total damage, range and effectiveness thanks to this massacre and destruction Khan underwent. Khan was now literally akin to convergence of reality. As for all the elements in his body, they were perfectly balanced. In conclusion, Khan was now fully capable of fighting an intermediate 5th stage saint with his physical strength alone without even using a single one of his power buff abilities. And at his peak strength, such as Azura mode Va Berserk God mode, Khan could even go against a peak 6th stage saint. And if he used what he learned from Romulus, then even facing a beginner 7th stage won't be a distant and impossible dream. Isn't there an Apostle of Death title? I have died too many times at this point and came back alive. Spoke Khan. There's an Apostle of Masochism. You want that title? Asked Vildred with a grin. Khan then met Romulus as the latter checked his body, bewildered after inspecting it. Khan qualified to achieve this impossible feat by suffering and dying more than 500,000 times in an entire month. And now, he had the perfect body to master any kind of elemental magic present in the world. Well done. You should start it now that your body has reached its peak potential. Commended the Heavenly King. It will even elevate your control over conceptualization to a higher degree. He implored Khan. A few minutes later, Khan went back to his villa and met his magic mentor. All right, we will start with magic spells first, spoke the royal dragon who was in the center hallway of this villa. From now on, even the weakest A rank spell you use will have 100% of its maximum capacity. Because you have achieved 100% affinity to the 10 elements present in the reality and thus, the resultant spell will always have the potency to the max since your body, mana and world energy is the one generating them. Iterated the Sage of Preservation. So since the source is pure and powerful, the output will also be at maximum capacity by default? Asked Khan curiously. Correct. Now let's start with your basic foundation first. The technique I'm about to teach you is similar to conceptualization, but it doesn't apply to weapons or their elements. Rather the spells, formations and how you integrate your elemental affinity in them, said the Dragon Emperor. Many use chanting to harness elements in the world and produce spells through practice methods. However, we're taking a shortcut since your body and mind have transcended normal magicians in the world, he declared. The very next moment, a glowing blue archaic formation appeared on the floor, and before Khan could react, bang! Vildred's open palm struck the center of Khan aka True's chest and Khan appeared in the air. However, the blue wolfkin body remained and fell on the ground while the real Khan in his human appearance floated in the air as a soul specter. He looked at his mentor with a bewildered expression. Because of elemental transfusion, your body and mind became optimal to study and learn magic. Your potential is already on par with the high elves and even superior dragons who have a natural inborn affinity to many aspects of magic. Now, this is the last step to make you perfect, he declared. And that's training your soul. Khan in soul form watched as Vildred revealed his plans. Not many people in the world know of this. Even I found it because it was left by one of my ancestors who lived 300,000 years ago. This technique is how I achieved my third enlightenment in law of magic, and it can at least make you an archmage in the future, said the sage. It's called mindless revisitation. Vildred pushed Khan's soul form out of his body to teach him the technique which he claimed to be helpful for the latter to become an exceptionally powerful magician in the long run. Khan in his spectral form floated in the air as his intangible, translucent and glimmering figure was still stifled and taken aback. This is the only way to help you practice this technique, spoke the Dragon Emperor. Okay, Ancient One, replied Khan. Soon, the Sage of Preservation started chanting and as a result, 10 blue and glowing threads came out of Khan's spectral form and attached themselves to Khan's body which was in the Atrus persona. Now what is this? Asked Vildred himself after he noticed something odd while forming a connection between the soul and body. Your soul. There's something inside of it. He spoke with a concerned gaze. There's something akin to a parasite that is attached to your soul, but it has always been inactive, spoke the royal dragon. What? What are you talking about? Asked Khan, completely bewildered. Is it harmful? He asked hurriedly. I cannot say. I have never seen anything of this kind. But by the looks of it, I don't see a threat to you from it, replied the Dragon Emperor. Will it hinder me from training? Queried Khan again. No, not in the least. But it's better to stay vigilant, replied Vildred with a worrisome expression. His gaze then turned to the old man Rathnar. How come you didn't find it? You were a peak saint, weren't you? He asked the first emperor in an admonishing tone. Who do you think I am? I'm but a remnant soul now. I have my limitations to notice something so well hidden. Besides, it took a sage like you to notice it. I'm sure no other mage would even have sensed it in the first place, argued the peak saint. Just a poor excuse for hiding your ignorance, scoffed the royal dragon. This is not my area of expertise anyway, and even you didn't notice this before making the contract of familiarity. So aren't you to blame as well? Rebuked the old man. All right, stop your bickering, you too, shouted Khan. Since it's not something hazardous and we don't have a way to find out anyways, let's focus on the topic at hand. He spoke, almost irritated by these two former archenemies. As the discussion progressed on its own, without all three noticing, a red and archaic formation akin to a massive rune etched on Khan's back suddenly appeared. This formation imprinted on Khan's soul was something he had no idea of, and none of them could even see it for some reason. It quickly disappeared as the three of them were engaged in conversation. And to this day, the truth behind this red formation shall remain a mystery. Vildred taught Khan to chant a spell. Khan followed the instructions. Suddenly, his body laying on the ground stood up and cast the spell instead of his soul. Khan was stupefied to see his unconscious body activating the skill, as if he was controlling it like a puppet. The gust of wind element coalesced on his palm, and the whirling wind blades created friction, and then Khan compressed it like an orb. This seemingly small orb of wind, full of hundreds of wind blades, was actually carrying the strength of a full cyclone. If Khan used it and threw it in the middle of a city, the full strength will be revealed, and like a raging storm, the entire city will be uprooted and decimated easily. Suddenly, Khan felt great pain and his spectral body caved in like all the strength was leaving out of nowhere. What's happening? Asked Khan as he groaned. At this moment, your mind is at rest. However, your soul is commanding your physical body using your soul essence. Although the amount is extremely negligible compared to what using a divine weapon demands, the aftereffects of using it are still there, responded the magic mentor. Each time you use it, your soul will become weaker for a short span, but it will also recover naturally in a few seconds. So without using your mind, you're revisiting the state of casting spells and attacks. That's why it's called mindless revisitation, explained Vildred. What's the use of doing this? Asked Khan as soon as he recovered. To reform and build the resilience of the soul. This way, your soul will keep strengthening in terms of quality and your soul essence will become denser compared to others. I have already perfected your body while you get all the credit for your mind, which is already on the level of an archmage due to the trials and torture you persevered through. By using it, we will bring your soul essence to the point where surpassing the restrictions of body, mind and soul can be achieved. And only that way, you can achieve your third enlightenment in law of magic to become a saint magician. He iterated in a scholarly tone. What about Archmage and Sage? Queried Khan again. That can only be achieved once you get fourth enlightenment and cross the fifth stage saint. As for Sage, fifth enlightenment and a rank of an eighth stage saint is a must. I see. Now you have to practice all elements to strengthen your soul. Although you can't use the light element, perfecting the rest will do the job, commended the royal dragon. This will extinguish my soul for real, spoke Khan as he was feeling constantly tired after using the skill again. 1 week later, 1% soul strengthening achieved, reported the system. Ever since that day, He trained in using reminiscence of eternal flame art, and on daily basis, he kept merging his space law with his dimensional domain in the Hall of Sentience. He was being taught in using basic weapon skills under Romulus. On the other side, his training in magic by Vildred in basic spells and performing mindless revisitation every day without any breaks or rest didn't stop either. This strict regime would have broken a normal person and they would have gone mad already. However, Khan didn't give up. Why? No great things were achieved without great sacrifices. He was continuing for the sake of his future, because he did not want to be at anyone's mercy any longer. And even among summoned heroes, he no longer wished to stay at the bottom of the food chain. He didn't just want the strength to protect himself anymore. The current Khan wanted to dominate everyone. Khan was tired of being the prey of the world, and now he wanted to be the predator. While Khan's exhausting and relentless training regime in all important fields carried on every day with no rest or breaks, breaking the bounds of human capabilities even as a saint, some important matters regarding the fate of the Beast Empire were being discussed in the capital of the Nader Empire. Tenochtitlan, the ancient and cultural center and the heart of the Nader Empire, was a bustling city that spanned 160,000 kilometers square area by itself and was the epitome of the beastkin cultural heritage and architecture. This city had more than 60 million residents of varying species. Some seemed descendants of lizardkin, some had bodies made of stone. There were many pandakins, while some species were literally ghosts. Yet all of them coexisted without trouble. And at the very center was a humongous palace, and its total span along with wide grounds surrounding it in a fortress-like setting in itself was 10 kilometers in radius. On Earth, this area was enough to form a town, but here, it was only the residence of the Empress. "Your Highness, we have bad news," spoke a being with the eyes of a reptile and a mouth full of sharp and long teeth. His green skin, elongated maw and glowing green eyes made him look like an alligator. This saint, covered in golden armor and robes, was currently in the Imperial Hall while facing the Empress on a heightened throne below a wide window as the bright sunlight covered the entire throne from behind, making one unable to see the appearance of the being seated on the throne as she was covered in shadows. "What is it, Zayatsan?" A domineering and authoritative voice resounded in the 1-kilometer-long empty hall, big enough to hold the council of 10,000 people at once, which now had just 2 of them. The Demon Emperor, a few months ago, he became an 8th stage saint. Spoke this imperial advisor. "What? How is that possible?" "He was a 7th stage saint just 2 years ago," exclaimed the Empress in disbelief. Soon, the countenance of the Empress, veiled under the shadow of the throne, became that of exasperation. "Yes, Your Highness. It has been confirmed by the 4 sovereigns. We are the last one to receive this information because of our geographic location. And I believe that now, we can't stay away from the war," spoke the imperial advisor in a shaking voice. Boom! A burst of green aura suddenly spread in the hall as the Empress released a killing intent while trying to control her anger. "And the 4 sovereigns are also pressuring us to take a stand like all the empires," said the crocodile-kin. "Damn it! Why is it happening so suddenly? We were supposed to have at least 80 more years." She spoke with a contorted face. "This isn't going to be simple. Although the 4 sovereigns are acting as a team, they are divided due to their origins and the empires they back up. Except for the Revenant sovereign, Argos Belmont, everyone else has pledged allegiance to someone or some empire." She revealed in a grim tone. "I tried to get him to our side by proposing a marriage, but he wouldn't budge or get swayed in any way despite the benefits our marriage can bring him and his kingdom," responded the Empress with a visible dejection. "If we look at it, he gains nothing from it. Even if we offered our whole empire's army, he alone is more than enough to massacre even greater numbers by himself. What prize could get in his eyes?" questioned the advisor, who was a 6th stage saint himself. "What prize, you say?" "I'm the prize," shouted the Empress as she clenched her fists in annoyance. "He gets to marry an empress, and he knows that I'm also a true descendant with the bloodline of the strongest god-beast of them all. Yet he didn't even spare a moment to think before he rejected me." she exclaimed while remembering a hateful memory of the past. The imperial advisor then tried to calm her down and spoke in a polite tone. Maybe it's because of our custom. It's not your fault, Your Highness. He knows that he won't become the emperor or even king consort by marrying you. And the offspring you two would have won't inherit the throne, and even your position can be challenged in the future if one of the heavenly kings becomes an 8th stage saint as well. Argos Belmont is a very smart and experienced vampire, so he didn't find the proposition ensuring his future prospects, said the advisor, blaming their customs to appease the anger of the empress. Ha! Why is everything going so bad for me recently? Asked the empress to herself as her figure slumped. Others, I have no worries. The only one who bothers me is the Fenrir-born tribe leader. Although others are strong as well, only Romulus Lycaeus is someone who gives me a sense of threat. Must be because he's a true descendant of god-beast Fenrir. She spoke, revealing an expression full of concern. Even in the past, only Fenrir was on par with your bloodline's ancestors. There's no point in dwelling, spoke the advisor. That's not all, Zyatson. We have other problems too, spoke the empress. Our great god, Termesit, hasn't sent a decree through the priestess divination recently. The Temple of Termesit previously stated that our god ordered us to solely focus on making the hero of nature strong and hunt the hero of darkness. Yet even now, we have no clue, despite him being rumored to have recently ambushed the hero of life and killing his party members in the Zivid Empire. On top of it, their princess getting assassinated and the blame falling on us has already stressed the enmity between the two empires a lot on our borders, she said. Do you know how hard it is to rule the empire when all the borders are on the verge of imminent war? We're lucky that we have 4 7th stage saints, unlike many where even 2 or 3 of them are extremely hard to come by. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for me to manage everything despite my strength. She admitted an undeniable fact. Still, Hero of Nature became a 5th stage saint just half a year ago. He needs time to perfect his domain furthermore. Even if we are to partake early in the war against the Demon Empire, I would like to postpone as much as possible. She declared her intentions. And not only ours but all the other empires except Rakos and Vulcan will make their final decisive choice, stated the Empress solemnly. After the Conclave of Heroes, in the main training halls of the Fenrir-born tribe leader aka Romulus Lycaeus, a blue wolfkin stood in front of his master as it was the first day of weapons training for a new weapon. Since Khan was already a legitimate saint in swordsmanship when he created Dragonstrike when he was only a semi-saint, in the past month, the Red Wolfkin was teaching Khan all the skills and helped the latter in perfecting his already existing ones to a great degree. Now, all of Khan's swordsmanship skills were at saint rank. This created room for new weapon mastery and bridged the lacking knowledge and mastery as a swordsman for Khan. So it was time for them to move to the next one and learn it with undivided attention. As the first weapon was spear. Take out your spear, commanded the heavenly king. Boom! Suddenly, a black and golden spear appeared in Khan's right hand and revealed a greatly oppressing aura, that of a legitimate dragon. Even Romulus revealed a baffled expression as soon as he sensed the quality of the spear summoned by Khan. It was a legendary rank spear made from a mythical rank dragon's horn by the Saint Blacksmith aka Throck Oakenshield, named by Khan as Gungnir. The heavenly king assessed Khan's spear and gave an affirming nod as he too found the spear extremely well suited for his pupil. Do you know why spears, halberds and tridents are rarely practiced by saints? He questioned Khan in his Atrus persona. Because they're not as effective as a sword other than the long range they provide? Khan questioned back. It is indeed one of the reasons, nodded the Apostle of Slaughter. But that's not all. A sword can be used by either your prominent hand or both hands to create more force and momentum. It can also be quick to draw and do both slashing and piercing. It saves time and can help you protect yourself at a moment's notice by deflecting an attack. Whereas in using long-range melee weapons like spears, halberd, polearms, and tridents, you must use both hands to perfectly wield it no matter which situation. It's also risky once you lose the advantage of the range and momentum. The reaction time is also too long if you're facing a surprise attack and have a weak posture to counter it, stated the Heavenly King from his experience. But there are two ways to get rid of those shortcomings. One is obviously your skills. Can you guess the other? He glanced at Khan, testing his knowledge. It's your body, replied Khan with no hesitation. Romulus nodded, pleased with the answer. Correct. If your body is strong as a mountain and your agility and senses are as fast as a lightning bolt, you can make up for the shortcomings. But it's easier said than done. He expressed in a tone of a veteran. You can't just be massively big or ripped to use any of these 4 long-range weapons. And you can't be too shredded or slim either. A firm footing and arms that are not only strong but shaped in a way to wield a spear and quickly use fighting techniques related to these weapons, whether you're attacking or guarding yourself, must be developed over the course of time. In your case, although you are already fit enough and have blessings from the war deity, your body needs work and some reforming in your build, so we can not only make it optimal for using spears but also gauntlets and heavy weapons such as shields, battle axes, and giant swords. Spoke the master. In simple words, you can't be ectomorphic anymore. You need to bulk up. He declared. How? Should I start overeating and then train in order to change my physical build? Asked Khan with a puzzled countenance. No need. I will create a diet plan as well as what exercises you need to do. Our objective is to gain more muscles, make your arms and chest bigger, and maintain your lean stature at the same time. Besides, you're 28 already. Your prime years as a human have started. So it is also a perfect time to cause some metamorphosis for the long run. He explained. So in a way, Khan had to leave behind his body that would make women drool like Chris Hemsworth. And now, he needed to become like Chris Bumstead aka Mr. Olympia. You're no longer a young boy, but a man, spoke Romulus. To his words, Khan vehemently replied in an elated voice. All right, we go gym. 1 week later, Khan was practicing under Romulus' supervision. Boom! He suddenly felt a sense of danger as his master summoned his own legendary rank spear. A fiery red shaft and a golden-black blade revealing the full might of a ferocious beast. This red spear made from a Fenrir's Fong who died thousands of years ago, named as Draupnir, spoke Romulus. Swords are overrated and mainstream. There's a reason why spears and tridents are called the weapon of a king, because once you become skillful enough in using them, you can easily face multiple swordsmen by yourself. He spoke without sugarcoating a fact that would easily trigger plenty of weebs and chinibius. Remember, unlike a sword, spears aren't meant to be utilized as a whole. The best way to control it is by using the shaft to create direction and momentum. Whether you're thrusting, pulling, or slashing, the blade will do the work effectively only if you've mastered your control over controlling the shaft itself. Your grip must be firm, but your palm must be flexible enough to quickly let go in order to match your stance in accordance to the momentum you've created. And with nimble movements of your body, it's a very dangerous weapon to face in a battle. That's also why the front-line soldiers in armies are spear or polearm soldiers rather than swordsmen. He iterated. If you don't master them and just mindlessly slash and thrust like a rookie, then it will just create more openings for your enemies. Remember, never treat a spear, trident, or a halberd just as a weapon. Always treat them as an extension of your body, the kind which feels no different than your arms and legs. He imparted his wisdom again. 2 weeks later, Khan was making visible progress at a rapid speed. And unlike before when he learned everything on his own, Romulus fixed all his mistakes, errors, and doubts he was having during practice. Learning directly from a person who was once hailed as the true battle king, who was also an apostle of a deity himself, was tremendously helpful than he could have ever learned from anyone else. And finally, during the arduous training Khan was immersed in, the system gave a notification in his mind. Congratulations to the host for becoming a Grandmaster Spearman. Khan revealed an elated smile as the system notified him about his rank up as a spear user. And under his command, the system then reported the cause of his rank up. Congratulations to the host for unlocking the following skills: physical and magic skills. Gungnir's Call, S rank, active. Allows the host to summon the spear Gungnir after throwing it at a target at will. The current range from which the spear can be called back is 15 kilometers radius from the host's location. Precise Thrusting, a rank, active. Allows the host to pinpoint the weak points of the target during a thrust attack and do 30% critical damage on a successful hit. Note: this skill will rank up after crossing 50% mastery. Greater Penetration, S rank, passive. Allows the host to make critical damage by bypassing 20% of physical and armor defense while slashing and thrusting. On a successful hit, the total damage will increase by 25%. Spear Maelstrom, A rank, active. Allows the host to summon a 200-meter radius storm filled with replicas of Gungnir made from mana and world energy. Note: the skill will rank up based on the host's proficiency and rank as a spear user. Elemental Siphon, SS rank, active. Allows the host to create 100 elemental spears made from his own affinity. Each spear can be controlled by the host's mind, and their elemental structure can also be changed by the host using harnessing and conceptualization. The host can quickly change a darkness elemental spear into any other element at will and vice versa. Due to the elemental transfusion procedure, all the summoned spears will have additional 200% total attack power. Note: additional buffs to attack power will increase with the future rank up of the skill and the host's rank as a spear user. Impaling Thrust, A rank, active. Allows the host to make a 5 consecutive strike attack combo and make a lethal strike at the opponent's neck or chest to impale them. The skill combo moves will increase with the host's weapon mastery. Phalanx Breaker, S rank, active. Allows the host to break enemy defense through powerful slashing strikes continuously and reduce the enemy defense by 30% for 2 minutes. Gale Force, S rank, active. Creates a whirlwind of elemental spears and surrounds the enemy from all directions. The host can blindside the enemy and attack from any direction at will. Spear Drill, SS rank, active. Enhances all of Gungnir's melee attacks by 15% with significantly increased stun and impact for 10 seconds. When used in a battle, the spear will rotate at an extremely fast speed to make critical hits and break enemy defense. Note: the melee damage output and stun period will increase with the host's weapon and combat technique mastery, and rank as a spear user. Spear Summon Mirage, SSS rank, active. Allows the host to summon 500 elemental spears. Each spear will be 10 meters in length, and their base element can be changed during battle. The current radius of this skill is 15 kilometers, and the host can willingly control every single spear within this perimeter. Note: the amount of summoned spears, total range and damage output will increase based on the host's rank as a spear user. Congratulations to the host. Gungnir is now part of the Dracos armor and bloodline set. It will now share the same bonus effects as Lucifer. Reported the system. Finally! Exclaimed Khan in joy. 3A rank skills, 4S rank skills, 2 SS rank attack skills, and 1 SSS rank skill. All of these were unlocked within just 2 weeks of training under Romulus. Khan was subconsciously perplexed by this result, because it was the first time he unlocked so many skills on his own and not by absorbing them from someone or relying on the system to make them. Due to Romulus personally teaching him everything while perfecting his posture, momentum, movesets, and form while training, the unnecessary mistakes that a newbie like Khan could make were minimized to minimal. And hence, along with the aid of his blessings from Cravel, Khan achieved something so astounding in just 2 weeks that would take a normal person of Vantria almost a decade at least. Recently, the Heavenly King also created a strict diet and workout regime for Khan to reform his body structure that would aid him to use these skills efficiently. It helped him perfect some combat techniques seamlessly. When the physical transformation finally started showing in the upcoming months, his mastery of spearmanship would also improve. Khan told his progress to Romulus, who was guiding him. Good. You're officially a spear battlemaster with a SSS rank skill. It will take some time, but once you get any of these skills or create a new Saint rank skill, you'll be a spear legend. Spoke Romulus as he nodded approvingly at his disciple. That's a distinction for the spear user class? Asked Khan. Yes. Above that is the hermit title. But I guess no one told you before. He replied. Khan nodded in agreement. These skills have a huge potential as your rank improves. If you can become at least a spear hermit in the future, you are already in the top 0.1% in the world. Spoke the Red Wolfkin. Khan nodded back as he too knew how great these skills were in the long run. Gungnir in itself was so powerful that it would become even more OP when Khan used the Draconian Bloodline or Dracos armor. Then the boost will be immensely terrifying. The legendary rank spear finally earned the name that Khan gave him. It was a weapon wielded by Odin, aka the All-Father in the Norse mythology on Earth. The spear never missed its mark and also made the most lethal attack no matter how big or small the target was. It didn't matter if your enemy was a small rabbit or even a titan. And just like the one on Earth, Khan's spear also earned its title to be called as the Spear of Heaven. 8 months later. Boom! A ground-shattering and ear-deafening explosion occurred. The energy revealed from the center of this explosion was akin to a nuclear explosion that was powerful enough to pulverize everything in 30 kilometers radius in the blink of an eye. However, before the energy could damage anything at all, it was sucked inside a glowing blue cloud-like structure with a golden orb devouring everything like a black hole. Congratulations to the host for becoming a 5th stage saint. The system suddenly notified Khan as he was meditating inside the Hall of Sentience. The creation of an ancient civilization kept inside the Chamber of Exaltation had not only aided him to rank up, but also quickly absorbed all the expelled energy, rendering this breakthrough harmless and undetectable to anyone in the outside real world. The reason behind this sudden rank up being that after crossing the 4th stage saint rank, Khan no longer needed any cores of monsters or other saints to level up and thus could rank up to the next stage efficiently. Following are the statistics of the host. Name: Khan Salvator, host. Titles: Hero of Darkness, Apostle of War Deity, Apostle of Blacksmithing. Species: Human. Job: All for One. Rank: 5th stage saint rank. Level: 604. Strength: 392,994. Agility: 385,029. Dexterity: 311,351. Defense: 305,698. Mana: 413,947. World Energy Reserve Capacity: 51.8%. Khan revealed a content smile after going through his stats. As for all his list of abilities, a certain being was too lazy to go through and write all of them at the moment. Swoom. Swoom. Congratulations to the host. Space Law Infusion Rate: 51%. The host is now eligible to create the second form of the dimensional domain. Effectiveness of all abilities and skills increased by 20%. All elemental spells and formations will have additional 10% effectiveness and attack damage output. The magic formations and barriers cast by the host will have 20% more effectiveness and activation time. All unique battle modes such as Azura mode, Shura mode, and Berserk God mode will have 20% extended time respectively. Reported the system. However, the notifications didn't stop just here. Synthesis Divine Ability time has decreased by 10% and Ability Absorption Divine Ability has now 30% less time required. It iterated in the usual lifeless tone. Good. It was about time I started yielding the results. A more stoic and manly voice resounded as Khan stood up. The current Khan now looked different than before. His body had undergone a transformation in terms of appearance, build, muscle weight, width, and overall composition. He was no longer just a handsome face with a shredded and lean build. But now, he looked like a mature and full-grown person in his prime years. Khan's jaw became a bit broader and his shiny black hair touched his shoulders and all the body parts screamed masculinity to the point his veins also became visible. Through consistent training and workout regime along with all his other fields he was practicing and mastering, Khan had become a completely different individual. Even in terms of aura he emanated, and his stature gave an imposing aura that no one would dare to defy. Even his big arms, biceps, broader back and firm legs could be noticed through his attire. His countenance would seem less appealing to women but would definitely represent an alpha to the other males regardless of their species. Khan was no longer a young adult but a man. I'm 29 years old now. Soon I will become 30, the age when I killed myself during the previous life. He spoke to himself and recounted his gains in the past 10 months since he came to the Beast Empire. System, tell me my rank as a magician, enchanter, and blacksmithing class. He commanded. The host is currently at Scholar Saint rank in both magician and enchanter classes. The host has mastered 10 Saint rank and 3 legendary rank spells. The host has mastered 5 legendary rank and 1 ancient rank magic formation. The host has become a master saint in blacksmithing by creating 3 legendary rank weapons and 1 legendary rank shield. Reported the system. Ah, great. Now it only leaves the alchemist class. But then there's also the 3rd enlightenment in the space law that I must attain if I'm to create the 2nd form of my dimensional domain. Spoke Khan and left the Hall of Sentience. In the past 8 months, Khan learned a plethora of astonishing skills, combat techniques, spells, weapon mastery, and magic formations from both Vildred and Romulus. They were also done with teaching him their respective techniques that Khan previously needed to become eligible to learn back then. As for the divine weapon, Amaterasu, Khan had successfully managed to transition 10% of his soul essence using the reminiscence of eternal flame technique given to him by the divine weapon. As a warrior, Khan now also learned unlocking terrifying skills and achieved saint rank in spear, shield, battleaxe, warhammer, giant sword, halberd, and finally, the gauntlets. It had been more than 10 months since Khan arrived in the Nader Empire and entered Romulus tutelage. He did nothing else other than train tirelessly while learning everything he could from the Heavenly King. Thanks to the Chamber of Exaltation, Vildred Zivsergaun Ivrar Mortalix aka the Dragon Emperor and the Sage of Preservation also managed to impart all his knowledge to Khan and teach him everything as his mentor. Although Khan was still nowhere close to his mentor's level, he had a firm foundation with immense potential that would make everyone envy him. Moreover, like the Apostle of Slaughter promised, he taught everything he knew to Khan, and using his doppelgangers, Khan achieved 100% mastery in all of them as time went by. Finally, Khan bridged the gap between himself and all the other summoned heroes/heroines, who had the full support of empires and excellent teachers behind them. The current him was no longer a prey. In every sense, Khan was now a powerhouse and a predator. The next day, Atrus was summoned to the main tribe committee hall where he previously met all the tribe elders with Romulus. However, this time, the Red Wolfkin's 4 disciples were also already present, kneeling in front of their master. Thud! A set of heavy footsteps resounded in the large hall as a 3-meter-tall blue wolfkin with a bulging and big stature along with a ripped and bulky body entered through the door. Compared to before, the rune-like tattoos on the shadow disciple glowed more fervently, and the icicles protruding out of his shoulders quickly spread a chilling breeze across the hall. Unlike the time when the Heavenly King first brought him here, Atrus was now bigger, bulkier, and more imposing as his aura was many times more potent and oppressive. "You summoned me, Master?" asked Atrus as he respectfully knelt in front of his master while revealing a domineering pressure. Danger! These 3 emotions suddenly appeared in the minds of the 4 disciples as their basic instincts went on high alert after Atrus made his existence known to them. And this time, none of them could even sense how strong he was or what his rank was. What the hell is happening? Why does his aura and bloodline feel so powerful? Even I can't see through him. Conveyed Dorian to his fellow disciples. Even as a peak 4th stage saint at this point, the White Wolfkin couldn't sense anything from Atrus. Finally, seeing that all his disciples were gathered, the Fenrirborn tribe leader spoke in a tyrannical voice filled with absolute majesty. "All 4 of you have been assigned your tasks as my disciples. It's our duty as the representatives of the Fenrirborn tribe to contribute to our empire. he declared without responding to a truce. Now go and accomplish the mandatory mission given to us by the imperial order. He spoke. We won't disappoint you, master, exclaimed Juno, the spirit enchantress, in a vigorous tone. Ivar and Mephisto also showed a determined expression, and then all four of them left together. After only Romulus and Atreus were left in the hall, the latter asked in a curious voice, "What's this about?" Romulus was already aware that Khan became a fifth-stage saint yesterday, and he personally tested his enhanced dimensional domain along with Vildred. Because Khan now became a fifth-stage saint, the royal dragon could also use his domain again, making him a terrifying being who could even fight with an intermediate seventh-stage saint once he activated his domain. I am aware that you know how to lead like a king since your time in the Verlassen fiefdom in the Rakos Empire, spoke his master. But you always led the charge by yourself and fought alongside your subordinates who were anomalies themselves. And even the ones inside your shadows are your own creations who are not afraid of death. They would do whatever you say without thinking about any consequences. He iterated solemnly. But what about real people? What about real soldiers? He questioned with a firm gaze. Where exactly are you getting at, master? Asked Khan with a slightly puzzled countenance. Khan, you're a chosen hero. You may not have been informed of this matter by anyone yet, but your role isn't just to fight against the demon god, said the tall wolfkin who was seated on his throne. For all the other heroes and the empires, a chosen hero/heroine is a symbol of hope, a symbol of protection. In the eyes of the populace, they are a guardian sent by their god who is to kill the demon god who threatens the world and everything dear in their lives. To them, a chosen hero is their savior. He stated with a stern gaze. To his words, Khan replied, Yeah, I'm aware of that, but it's not like I have any way to be that for anyone since the Abyss Empire no longer exists. And I have no people who look up to me or care about my role as hero of darkness either. Romulus, on the other end, shook his head. That may be so, but it doesn't change that you must learn a few things as a necessity for your future. I have taught you everything I could in these past 10 months. I have laid down a path and the strongest foundation you could possibly have with your divine abilities, blessings and gifts that were given to you. How you build your future as a warrior is up to you now, declared Romulus. After learning the remaining 3 techniques from the Wolfkin, Khan became terrifyingly powerful, and even Khan with all his divine abilities, subordinates and battle tactics could not be compared to the current Khan who was now a fearless warrior. He looked at his master and nodded in affirmation. This was indeed the truth in this case, as after learning everything from Romulus, the former true battle king of the Abyss Empire and the Apostle of Slaughter, the current Khan was at least 15 times stronger than before, whether in terms of combat experience, skills, adaptability, weapon mastery, combat techniques, and lastly, the training did not only change Khan's physical body but also his mind. And Romulus indeed had a lion's share in it. What I want you to learn is not only to perfect yourself as a warrior, but as a beacon of hope and an icon who people would follow to their deaths in a war without hesitation. Spoke Romulus as he wanted to impart something important to Khan. You have a very important role whether you like it or not. And to become the person you're expected to be, I will make you experience something different than just training. He declared in a soft tone. What exactly do you mean? Asked Khan again, as he had no idea about the situation or what his master was implying. I want you to learn, spoke Romulus as he revealed the final part of Khan's training. How to become a war general. The Heavenly King, aka Romulus Lycaeus, expressed his concern regarding Khan's future openly and decided to explain why he thought so. In the Nader Empire, all powerful tribes and saints are subjects under imperial rule. Things such as noble classes, factions and elites of the society and having their allegiance to certain groups, tribes or leaders is useless and considered taboo. No matter where you come from, which clan or tribe you belong to, and what position you have in imperial rule or the military, you're expected to serve the empire and protect it from both external and internal conflicts and enemies alike. He spoke in a serious tone. Protecting the peace within the empire is the responsibility of all the forces in our empire. Thus, All the 12 major tribes are expected to do certain missions to serve the interests of the empire. You can't deny them for any reason either. And since someone of my standing is always busy with affairs of both the tribe and the empire, we have to send our best fighters to complete these missions. He iterated solemnly. Doesn't anyone ever complain? Asked Atrus. Why would they? Spoke the Fenrirborn with a small smirk. This arrangement also serves as a great life experience for the next generation of saints who are supposed to lead the tribes in the future. Gaining battle experience, surviving ordeals to emerge as a strong, wise and experienced leader is all we want for the sake of our tribes. Thus, I have sent all of them to their respective missions as per the rules. He said and leaned back on his throne. Khan understood the reason and nodded. So everyone is the same under imperial rule. There is no favoritism, elitism, and partiality between the populace and different races. He questioned and folded his arms. No, not on the surface at least, replied Romulus casually. So what do you want me to do then, master? When I brought you here for the first time, my disciples were returning from one of such missions. Now we have 4 new missions at the same time, stated the tribe leader. Some situations arose recently in all 4 of those missions, so you will have to follow Dorian to his mission. He already left, so leave quickly. He replied. Ah, why didn't you tell me this beforehand? Khan aka Atrus rolled his eyes. I told you this information in secret because it is supposed to be common knowledge. If I explained it to you in front of them, they would have suspected your background that we have built up so perfectly. Revealed the Wolfkin. Take this token. It's an artifact that will guide you. There are coordinates and you have to fly there on your own since you're faster than a warship. Spoke Romulus and commanded Khan. Soon, Khan used the device akin to a holographic radar by injecting his world energy and flew at supersonic speed in the direction of his new mission, breaking sound barriers multiple times. 7 hours later, he arrived 15,000 kilometers away in a different area of the Nader Empire which wasn't part of Elysium. This region was part of the section of the Beast Empire called Aslan. Atrus stopped at the east-southern end and finally met Dorian at a military base. During his flight, he saw over 60 kilometers of perimeter covered in devastation and flames. Screams and cries of helpless people filled the surroundings as military soldiers tried to rescue many victims. The number of common people belonging to various races that were brutally massacred came into his sight. What happened here? He asked Dorian, who was donning a golden armor. A mythical rank monster. The report says it was hibernating in a close forest to the city for decades before the city was even established. The locals treated it as a forest guardian since its presence deterred monsters to come in these regions. But for some reason, it suddenly woke up last night. Explained the white wolfkin, who was of the same height as Atrus. Do they do that? Asked the blue wolfkin with a curious voice. Some do. Some even sleep for over a century to undergo a transformation or while ranking up to a legendary or mythical rank. This one is one of those. Responded the light swordsman. But then why did it attack this city? Queried Atrus. According to military witnesses, it was minding its own business and wasn't hostile at all. Responded Dorian with a gloomy expression. Wasn't there an emergency response? Asked Atrus again. There was. A 4th stage saint who is also the son of the commander tasked to guard 100 kilometers of this area of the empire. The leader himself is a 3rd stage saint, but he was visiting the capital. So the son was the temporary commander-in-chief. But the matter isn't that easy, sighed Dorian helplessly. Why? Did he fail to stall it? No, according to the reports, he idiotically provoked the monster and tried to kill it without any proper plan. Some people do that for fame throughout the empire. And when he couldn't kill it and got seriously injured, he fled. Revealed the disciple. But then why did the monster destroy this city? Asked Atrus again with a puzzled countenance. This monster was supposed to be slumbering in the forest for decades. There seemed to be no reason for it to attack the city and kill all these people without any proper cause. Because when he was scared witless for his life, that moron fled in this direction instead of taking a detour. Dorian revealed the truth. Son of a bitch. Are you telling me that more than 1 million innocent citizens died because of a mistake and incompetence of one guy? Asked Atrus in bewilderment. Yes, although no one dares to admit it because of his rank as a saint and position as the son of the commander. Once the monster came across the city, it went rampant and caused this massacre because it was following him in an enraged state. And now, there are barely 20,000 people left alive. Spoke Dorian with a ghastly expression. Who the hell is that bastard? Idiot. Where the hell is he? Asked Atrus furiously. Because of the cowardice and stupidity of one person, 1 million of innocent people, who were supposed to be protected by that same person, died a miserable death. Death of an innocent bystander was often termed as collateral damage by the people in power. But no one understood how many lives it destroyed and how many undeserving people lost everything they held dear due to battles between powerhouses such as a saint and a mythical rank monster. Khan always hated these types of people who had no sense of accountability, whether it was while reading a novel or in the real world. At one point, he too foolishly ended up causing a riot in Flavit City. Although his actions were right and on the side of justice at that time, it still led to death of over 1,000 commoners who were protesting against noble clans. This was one of the regrets he still had to this day. The next second, instead of encouraging him, Dorian spoke with a reluctant voice. Stop! We can't touch him or do anything to him. Why? Because he's the son of a commander? So what? He should be held responsible for this? Exclaimed Atrus as Saint pressure started surging. No. There's another reason. Because, spoke the White Fenrirborn with an indignant expression as he revealed the truth. He's a member of the Heroes Party. Dorian revealed the true identity of this fourth stage saint who foolishly waltzed in and attacked a mythical rank monster who woke up from decades of slumber just for the sake of adding glory and fame to his name. And on top of it, he lured it towards this vast city which was inhabited by more than 1 million citizens. The monster ended up destroying this entire 60 kilometers perimeter city and nearby region while it went berserk, killing everyone like stomping on ants. And the guy who caused this was still breathing. Tell me everything you know about him, spoke Khan in his Atrus persona, controlling his anger. Dorian revealed all the information he gathered so far. Conan Doyle, a fourth-stage white tigerkin swordsman who was a young genius and once-in-a-century talent found even among saints. When the new Heroes Party was formed, he was recommended since the position of the commander-in-chief wasn't passed on to the kin in Beast Empire. Him being a fourth-stage saint alone wouldn't cut it because as per the traditions and laws, any position in the military also required great experience. The one Conan lacked since he spent most of his life training. And currently, he had prestige as one of the strongest swordsmen in the Heroes Party. Apparently, this guy was here for personal matters and suddenly when the mythical rank monster awoke, he was the one to lead the response team of military soldiers as the strongest saint present at that moment. But instead, he became overconfident in his strength and started fighting the monster instead of acting as a wall to protect the people in case it attacked the city's border. Damn! These dimwits! This is why strength doesn't always mean you're worthy to lead people. If it wasn't for their customs, this idiot would be on the guard's duty instead of leading soldiers in a battle. Spoke Khan indignantly as he looked around the massacre across the city. There were literally bodies being dug out of the rubble of buildings. Most were already turned into meat paste. Whether it was children, newborns, elderly, or women, no one was spared. TCH. Most of them probably died from that monster's aura alone before they could react. Spoke Dorian with an incredulous gaze. Let's go and meet this bastard. Spoke Atrus without hiding his enraged expression. 30 minutes later, both of the Wolfkins arrived at a grand military base over 80 kilometers away and entered a large castle that spanned 5 kilometers in perimeter due to its long and wide training facilities for soldiers along with their living quarters. An official welcomed them and the duo finally entered a luxurious room where a few lizardkin healers and a few Leshen druids were treating a 3-meter-tall white tigerkin. Sir Dorian and Sir Atrus of the Fenrirborn tribe have come to visit, announced a soldier on guard duty. Thud! Their loud footsteps resonated in the room as they saw Conan Doyle, a white tigerkin covered in bandages across his chest and legs. However, his haggard state did not earn any sympathy from both disciples of the Heavenly King. Finally, they sent someone to assist me, spoke Conan in a rustic voice as his grasp over his massive greatsword tightened in a victorious tone. This bastard, is he really feigning ignorance as if nothing happened? Does he not feel any remorse for causing this bloodshed? Wondered Khan. Soon, Dorian expressed their task to Conan as per the Imperial Rules mission. The main reason why Dorian and Atrus were sent here was to act as the cleanup crew. Yes, a cleanup crew. Not in the sense of clearing the demolished city, but to bury this matter in the ground. Nonsense. I was the one to engage it first, and I should be the one to kill it. You're both just support provided to aid me in this conquest, shouted Conan, unpleasantness visible on his face. Even Khan could tell that this guy had a halo of entitlement since he was a member of Hero's Party and had no sense of accountability for his actions. He cared more about the prestige and accomplishments added to his name than feeling guilty about the massacre he caused. Atrus was infuriated by this attitude but kept controlling his anger. Why? Because in the end, he wasn't a guardian of this place and neither were these people his responsibility. Yet the natural empathetic consciousness he had as both Elric and Khan was still somewhat dictating his emotions. My underlings have tracked its location. We will leave as soon as I have recovered in a couple of days, spoke Conan in a laid-back manner. However, boom! A grim and murderous aura suddenly erupted in the room, targeting the tigerkin with horrifying killing intent. You are staying here, you bastard! Atrus' grim and threatening voice resounded in the room as everyone else was quickly forced to bow under his saint pressure. Even Dorian couldn't help but feel like he was at death's door despite Atrus targeting Conan and no one else. You! How dare a mere servant speak to me like that? Exclaimed Conan in rage as he too revealed his killing intent. A servant, you say? Spoke Atrus as his glowing blue eyes with no iris gleamed even brighter. Whoosh! The very next moment, he suddenly appeared next to Conan and before the tigerkin could even react, Atrus grabbed him by the neck and lifted the tigerkin in his left hand. He choked the latter's throat with full strength. But for some reason, Conan could no longer use his strength or saint pressure to fight back. And the credit went to none other than Vildred, who was invisible under an ancient rank barrier, as he cast a spell that cut off the tigerkin's access to world energy from the outside world and within his own body. You're even allowed to stay alive because of the Imperial orders. If it were up to me, I would execute you in front of the whole Empire, spoke Atrus. Just then, Dorian spoke in a serious tone. Atrus, we have our mission. That's why Master sent you along with me. It's not our place to meddle in this matter. He reminded Khan why they were here. Thud. Atrus threw the tigerkin on the floor and scoffed off. If a trash like this is a member of the Hero's Party, I wonder how the hero is in reality, spoke the blue wolfkin. Next, Dorian walked forth and interjected as he looked at Conan, who was throwing daggers at them with his eyes. Sit this one out. Your foolishness will cause more deaths than solving the problem. Like I said, we're here to clean up after your mess. But it does not mean that our job is to assist you. It's about, he spoke in a ghastly tone, killing that monster. 3 hours later, Atrus and Dorian flew at supersonic speed after forcefully making Conan spit out the information regarding the current whereabouts of the mythical rank monster that rampages and destroyed the city filled with 1 million inhabitants. And finally, they located the gigantic beast as big as a mountain while it was only crouching. Khan's senses picked up the strength levels of this worldly calamity, and even he had a stiff expression despite being a 5th stage saint as they floated 30 kilometers away. A saint's range of sight and ability to sense auras of living beings rose by 5 kilometers with each rank up. Some monsters like Caladrius, who had a longer range, could even see 20 kilometers farther from the sky even at levels comparable to a 1st stage saint. Since Khan also had the Horus sight skill, he could clearly see this monstrous being that destroyed 60 kilometers of radius easily from the sky and see its entire figure. A ginormous mountainous figure made of gray metal and fangs as big as a titan. The metallic body was covered in fur that was akin to a legendary rank armor in itself. A head akin to an ancient beast and four black horns as long as a 50-meter-tall tower, while the maw was filled with thousands of massive teeth that could crush buildings like eating blueberries. While this creature was silently laying on the ground, its body alone was close to 700 meters tall, so both of them could already feel that its actual size was even bigger. "System, what is this creature?" queried Khan. "The being in front of the host is one of the direct descendant species of the god-beast behemoth. It is called the Hodag," reported the system. "What are its abilities?" "It is impervious to all kinds of physical attacks, and has 90% elemental resistance to all elements except darkness and light element. It has great regeneration ability and extremely high defense due to it being a metal elemental being. And it can also use mind and sensory distortion skills. It can also absorb and redirect all the physical attacks by turning them into a pure form of energy," reported the system. "Any weaknesses?" he asked. "The only weakness is that it is very slow due to its four-legged physical structure and metal element. And only the insides of its body are easy to harm. The outside fur and body parts are simply impenetrable even among the other descendant species of god-beast behemoth," the system informed in a lifeless tone. So it's just like in Vimarak, the descendant species of god-beast behemoth I fought back in Verlassen. Even the armor and weapons Albestros made for me and my subordinates were top quality until we got a dragon's corpse to forge legendary rank sets. But this is definitely bigger and stronger than in Vimarak. Besides, it's my first time fighting a metal elemental monster. They're just as rare as descendants of primordial titans," thought Khan as he ran down a few fighting simulations in his mind. "You sure you want us to kill it?" asked Atrus to Dorian. "Imperial orders cannot be defied. You must follow them if you're part of the Empire's military forces. As the disciples of a heavenly king, it would be dire to our master's reputation as his position if we fail to kill it," explained the White Wolfkin. "Still, it's a mythical rank monster comparable to a 5th-stage saint. Even with both of us here, it will be extremely hard to even injure it," said Atrus with a skeptical gaze as he stared at the sleeping Hodag. "Humph! What kind of attitude is that, Atrus? I know you're stronger than me, but you have still yet to accept the responsibility as a member of the Fenrirborn tribe. In the military forces, we don't ask questions and get the job done even if we have to risk our lives. And what do you think will happen if this monster goes on a rampage again? How many millions of people would die again?" he sarcastically asked. "Then do you even have a plan? This thing is a descendant of a god-beast. Even you should know how powerful they are?" asked Atrus with an incredulous gaze. "That idiot Conan Doyle did the mistake of fighting it without even knowing its powers and abilities. Look at it, there's not even a scratch or an injury on its body. You think we have any better chance just because there are two of us?" spoke Atrus in a mocking tone. Fighting such a powerful enemy due to overconfidence was the very reason why an entire city was razed to the ground. Khan did not wish to repeat the same mistake. Also, there was a reason why he was reluctant to fight this Hodag monster. In reality, Khan could kill it, but it would require him to reveal his rank as a 5th-stage saint and also use his dimensional domain and dimensional cut attack skill. Alone, he was more than enough to kill it if he used Azura mode and Shura mode. But due to Dorian's presence here, if he used other bloodline abilities, his domain or attack skills that shouldn't be possible, Khan's cover would be blown. Now, Khan's identity as a water/ice elemental brawler Wolfkin aka Atrus became a hurdle in this situation because he couldn't use skills that went against his bloodline, class, and elemental affinity. Should I use them? Wondered Khan. Even in this case, Khan could fight this monster by using harnessing, conceptualization, and the remaining 3 techniques taught by Romulus. But there was a reason even that was out of the equation. Because his master had already warned that these skills should be used only when no one was watching. Some of these techniques were unknown to people of the Beast Empire and practiced only in the Abyss Empire before it was destroyed. Them coming to light would be too big of a risk, especially in front of Dorian, who was a well-informed and patriotic saint of the Nader Empire. There's no choice. I have to cooperate with him, Wait a minute, isn't that what Master wanted me to learn? Suddenly, he realized a fact he missed before. What Romulus wanted Khan to learn here wasn't leadership. Rather, it was camaraderie. Atrus aka Khan finally understood why he was sent here after his master. Romulus said that he wanted him to learn how to become a war general. Previously, he spoke of the part where he expressed his opinion about Khan learning how to lead. But leading didn't always mean taking charge in a battle. It also meant clearing a path and cooperation with your allies to take down the enemy side. Like how a captain of the cavalry often charged at the front of offense and led his subordinates in a battle formation to decimate their opponents. Khan had no problem doing so with his subordinates, but Dorian was a different case. He wasn't an ally with no fear for his life, and neither was he Khan's puppet who would obediently follow his orders without questioning his judgment. So maybe he was sent by Romulus here to learn that very aspect as a comrade during a battle. Something he never had experienced before. Look, I have read about this monster once, said Atrus, and then expressed a plan to the White Wolfkin to take down this monster. And do what? Give you all the credit for it? Clamored Dorian furiously after hearing the plan. I don't care for credit. You can say that you did it alone. Spoke Atrus as if he didn't care at all. However, the next moment, Dorian flared up, his expression revealing that he was pissed off. You think I'm that pathetic and pitiful to take credit for someone else's doing? He shouted, feeling wronged. Atrus rolled his eyes and responded helplessly. All right, 50-50ths it is then. Master gave this mission to both of us in the end, so that should be acceptable. He said to appease the other party. At this moment, Khan also realized one thing about his comrade here. Dorian obviously had developed an inferiority complex since Atrus came along 10 months ago and beat them in the 4-versus-1 battle where he absolutely toyed around with them. His master personally trained the Blue Wolfkin alone in the past 10 months, and the defeat all 4 of them had suffered at the latter's hand was still vivid in his memory since he was of the competitive nature. So will you follow my lead? Asked Atrus. Dorian revealed an indignant countenance but responded, Fine, but don't think that I have acknowledged you as my better. I'm only doing this because killing this monster is more important than my pride. He declared while glaring at Atrus intently. My, this guy is a textbook tsundere. Thought Khan, but suddenly a chill ran down his spine. All right then, we know our roles. Let's go. 1 hour later. Get lost, you vermin! A grim voice resounded in Khan's mind. The one to speak these words was none other than Hodag. It was a fully sentient being just like Skol Vahadi and could converse telepathically with them. For the past hour, Atrus engaged in combat with this majestic creature that was 1.5 kilometers tall as soon as it stood up on all 4 legs. Hodag also revealed that he was minding his business after waking from his hibernation, but Conan attacked him for no reason. And as a result, he chased the perpetrator. The city being destroyed, he didn't even care who these people were. Although Khan also understood his reason, he had no choice but to attack this mythical beast because of the mission. And even if he acted magnanimous or Hodag felt remorseful for killing all those innocent people like some forced victim plot of a story, the damage was already done and there was no going back. Huff! Huff! Atrus panted heavily and his body was full of sweat. One could tell that he was nearly exhausted from this battle, which destroyed close to 50 kilometers of radius, forests, plant life, and flattened valleys and mountains. All this time, he was using Beowulf to attack Hodag from afar by creating icebergs using summon water from a nearby lake, and also used Azure Dragon Fist skill multiple times to stop the enemy from moving. But Hodag's size was too big and the monster itself was impervious to water elemental attacks. Hence, it easily broke past them. On the side, he had great psychic skills to make one lose control over their own mind and body. If someone like Conan or Dorian fought it, they would end up killing themselves instead of attacking Hodag. But Khan, who had died more than 1,000,000 times and suffered through excruciating pain in every possible method and manner, he was able to break past the effects of these skills easily and maintain his sanity. And thus, he kept attacking incessantly without holding back. To onlookers, this would appear as a very stupid move. However, Khan had his own plans. Khan could use only these skills as a brawler without using what Romulus taught him or his personal abilities, but he could still make 40 to 45 of such fist attacks. The only disadvantage Hodag had was its slow speed. Otherwise, it could easily escape from this situation a long time ago. All in all, the situation was at standstill. Atrus couldn't kill it and Hodag couldn't escape either. But what the latter didn't understand was each time those water elemental attacks hit its body, his metallic fur was getting drenched in water, and the burden of its own weight was impeding his movements more than they usually did. And finally, Atrus made the move. Raging storms filled the battlefield and the sky started rumbling. The ground was crackling as dozens of massive pillars of water arose from beneath. Atrus activated the Waterblade Hurricane skill and launched an onslaught of millions of water blades made of his pressure and compressed water. Soon, 20 kilometers of the area was filled with water like a tsunami, and even the massive Hodag was partially submerged under this unnaturally high and dense sea made by Atrus. It's time, thought Khan and snapped his fingers. The massive volume of water that was seeped into the fur and body of the monster suddenly reacted and froze instantly on the spot, entirely freezing this ginormous creature that could kill millions of soldiers with its aura alone. Next, surging tides suddenly turned into two 100 meters wide arms made of hard ice that looked exactly similar to Atrus' arms. They quickly lunged and forcefully grabbed the mouth of this beast and opened it wide. Atrus let out a devious smirk at this moment and spoke to himself. I love it when a plan comes together. Throughout this entire exchange, Khan aka Atrus was evenly matched against Hodag, a mythical beast who was on the same level as him. But due to it being a descendant of a god beast, it was as strong as a 6th-stage saint based on physical stats alone. To others, it would appear like Atrus was handling it easily, but no one could imagine that just bearing the brunt of psychic attacks that would instantly drive even a 5th-stage saint mad was no easy matter. Khan was using multiple defensive abilities to withstand the opponent's pressure, and also used some of his unique skills while attacking the opponent that wouldn't expose his identity. All the skills he absorbed from Cthulhu were just on the surface. He also used Defense Breaker, Royal Guard, Wrath of Vajra, Leaken Tyrant's Roar, Lucid Reality, and the new abilities he gained after becoming a Saint Brawler warrior. Secretly, he was also using Rathnar's core as a source for constant attacks while acting like he was running out of world energy reserves so the opponent would feel that he could kill Atrus as soon as the Wolfkin ran out of his strength. However, even with all these skills that decimated the region during their battle as they moved around, the descendant of the god beast couldn't be injured in any sense. The defensive abilities were already better than what Cthulhu had. Alas, Khan had to limit himself to not use his useful skills to kill the opponent, and all he could do was play the part of the front attacker. Also, this was a completely different situation compared to when he usually fought mythical rank monsters with his subordinates. Normally, they took care of such monsters easily with teamwork, but now, Khan was doing everything on his own while withholding his real strength. Now! Commanded Atrus. Finally, after opening Hodag's mouth by catching it off guard, whoosh! Before Hodag could even react or sense anything, a bright white light suddenly emerged from those high tides of this artificial sea created by Atrus and entered the mythical rank beast's mouth in a flash. Even till this point, Dorian hadn't engaged in a fight with Hodag in the slightest since the beginning. And this was exactly the opportunity Khan was creating all this time. To forcefully make the enemy unable to move and make the surprise attack, catching this monster off guard as he created a safe passage for his comrade to make the last move when the enemy was taken by surprise and couldn't use its mind and sense-altering skills. Now, it was time for the intermediate 4th stage saint to utilize this opportunity created by Atrus. Boom! Suddenly, a 500-meter-long light elemental sword emerged from inside Hodag's skull like a divine strike made by a deity, instantly killing this mythical rank monster, while the latter's black brain matter erupted and spread across a 300-meter radius within the battlefield. Dorian used his biggest and most powerful killing to puncture the monster's brains out from the inside, finishing it without much effort. The result was exactly what Atrus anticipated. Khan remembered that the system said that Hodag was weak against only darkness and light elemental attacks, and the only fragile body parts it had was from inside the figure, while the outer body was comparable to an impregnable fortress. And since Khan couldn't afford to reveal his origins or raise any suspicion, he decided to let Dorian, who had the light elemental affinity, land the killing strike. Unlike how Khan usually did things, this was the very first time he fought alongside someone else other than his subordinates and cooperated to get the job done. Dorian emerged from the fountain of gray blood and black brain matter, nodding at Atrus and giving an understanding nod. He too acknowledged the fact that this single opportunity wouldn't even be possible if the former hadn't given his all and fought tirelessly for the past hour against himself. Perhaps he isn't that bad. He was clearly stronger than he revealed back then, but still went easy on her. Maybe I need to stop being so immature and picking fights with him. Master was indeed right. I have become complacent and ignorant, thought Dorian. Although he had his pride as a warrior, he wasn't ignorant in judging people. He felt no shame in admitting his immature behavior that stemmed from his inferiority that recently affected his perception of Atrus. Right then, 3 rectangular warships colored in green and golden yellow patterns arrived in their range of sight. "Let's go. Our job here is done," spoke Dorian. Although Khan wanted to absorb Hodag's abilities, luck wasn't on his side as thousands of soldiers arrived here and Dorian himself was with him. 1 hour later, they arrived back in the city, but Atrus had a grim countenance. The reason being, there was another massacre. "What the hell happened here when we were away?" clamored Atrus as he saw thousands of corpses spread over a widespread ground. The blood and detached body parts of all the victims of the previous massacre by Hodag lay on the ground. In addition, along with all the rescued victims, were the corpses of the native soldiers. The newly arrived soldiers in green and golden armor were gathering the corpses, while mages prepared powerful spells to incinerate the remaining 20,000 victims. Khan himself was unable to grasp the situation and couldn't find a reason why all these people and the soldiers who previously helped rescue the victims were slaughtered. Whoosh! The next second, a group of saints clad in epic rank armors appeared in the sky along with Conan Doyle, the white tigerkin saint. "Unlucky bastards," he spoke casually, without sparing a glance at the terrified expressions of the commoners that were slaughtered wantonly. Boom! At this moment, a dark blue aura erupted from the other end of the city. Atrus quickly appeared in front of this group of saints, his eyes filled with fury. Did you have them all killed to get rid of the witnesses of your failure?" he questioned while tightly clenching his fists, barely able to control his rage. Khan concluded that unlike how he thought before, they literally wanted to bury this entire matter about how a member of the Heroes Party fucked up big time and caused the deaths of more than 1 million innocent citizens. "TCH, why do you care?" asked Conan, his countenance unfazed. "You bastard!" shouted Khan and summoned the Azure Dragon fist in the sky, ready to attack the 4th stage Saint Tigerkin as he lost his control. Instead of protecting the people they vowed to serve, everyone was doing exactly the opposite. But due to his moral compass dictating his mind, Khan just lost his calm even though none of these people were his responsibility or meant anything to him. "Stop!" Just then, Dorian spoke in a grim voice before Atrus attacked Conan. "Atrus, let him go. It wasn't him who ordered their deaths," he said with an incredulous expression. "Then who the hell did?" clamored Atrus as he glanced back at his comrade. Dorian's expression turned heavy, and with great indignation, he finally revealed the truth. "The Empress.